So Lux is raising a few eyebrows, being able to get 8th place at the Runes and Rift tournament. We're going to be looking at that deck list as well as the deck list from a China Regionals as well that ended up doing incredibly well. And also some gameplay to see why this deck could be surprising some people in the meta. All of that and more starting right now. Yeah, and here's the thing, especially when Lux first got announced and even notated that it was going to be in the Proving Grounds as well, there was a little bit of people raising a brow, not necessarily seeing anything to really be baffled at, you know, oh, it's just an okay deck and nothing to really be able to take down, you know, the best of the best, and it's just going to fall to the wayside, a tier 3 deck at best. And in a lot of ways, that did seem like that was the case. There wasn't necessarily a good balance between having the ability to keep units out on the board while still being able to play those big spells to be able to draw cards. And that dynamic in and of itself is very difficult. How do you then go about putting these big or these units out onto the board? Where is that balance? And then on top of that, how can you continue to maintain pressure to be able to continue to score points on top of that? So it's a little difficult to see how all of that balances out. But I mean, still an 8th place Lux and a Runes and Rift tournament, that's nothing to bat an eye at. Very great job there by the competitor being able to do so. And this was actually a really interesting top 8. We're going to be looking at the graphic that Plus has made as well for those that are in the top 8. And it's interesting to see that even Darius actually ended up having 2 in the top 8 and 3 Kaises as well. So a very dynamic and different, and seeing even a Victor and a Volibear being able to make it into the top 8. So it looks like everyone just literally brought the sauce and was able to perform incredibly well with that. And so I'm very curious to see how all of this is going to continue to play out. I mean, we didn't necessarily see a whole lot of sets or things of that nature, but I mean, Darius was able to go ahead and make it into the finals and taking 2nd place here, which is just amazing to be able to see. But we're going to be focusing on Lux. Now, of course, Cablaz is the one who piloted that deck and was able to do so very successful. Now, it should be notated, of course, that when they did go into the top cut, did end up losing, and that's where the 8th place did come from. But still, even being able to go ahead and get into that 8th place situation is an absolutely great feat to be able to celebrate there, and exactly why we are making this video. Likewise, though, we've seen a few Luxes in the Chinese regionals that have been able to actually do surprisingly well. And we're going to be taking a look at one of those deck lists just to be able to compare and contrast that as well. Whoop! There I am. Okay. So with that, we are going to be looking at Lux's ability. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's when you play a spell that costs 5 or more, draw 1. Now, for all you Magic players, you're like, that's amazing. But for all you Riftbound players, that's not counting units. Those are not spells. But with that, still a great job on being able to get some great card draw, replacing itself on top of that every single time. And so that's the difficult dynamic. You're not necessarily maybe wanting to play bigger units out because, well, if you do, you're not necessarily drawing. And the yellow and blue, the mind and order dynamic is a little bit difficult to maybe balance around with Lux's ability. But you're still able to do so pretty well, surprisingly. Now, this is the hardest part about Lux's ability. This is such a great champion to be able to utilize, but the difficult part with this is that Lux, unfortunately, is incredibly easy to take out, especially for 4. You're paying 4, and a falling star will just immediately take her out. There's a lot of ways to be able to charm, things of that nature. And yes, it is sometimes nice to see, you know, those charms being used on something not so big, but at the same time, this is your bread and butter here that you're hoping to really get off because you can go ahead and add 2 to play your spells. So those 6 cost spells now are only 4, and there's a lot more that you can do when you have 7 out and you don't have to use 2 of those for a spell that you're able to play, which helps you go wider and be able to maintain your board presence. So Lux is immediately going to be targeted and unfortunately taken out a lot. And especially for the 4 cost, for how easy it is to take out Lux, it's sad. That's the hardest part about this deck. it is very hard for you to go ahead and get that value from Lux. But outside of that, it's actually pretty solid. Stupefy, Ravenbloom Student, Hidden Blade, Daring Poro, Soaring Scout, now Facebreaker. This is the first one that we are going to be taking a look at. Now, this is going to be helping you really to hold the battlefields as they are being attacked in. You're going to be able to go ahead and target one of your 1 might units or one of your token units that you have created and be able to stun their big guy. Hey, you're attacking in with a Master Yi. Well, cool. He is now stunned, and so is my 1 might unit, so you just go back to base, or I have enough to be able to get over you in that case, and you lose Master Yi. Even still, being able to hold and score on that point can be a very big difference maker, and the fact that it can come out as hidden is really great, because even after all the actions are done, hidden then can be played as a reaction to go ahead and devastate with that final card in the chain to be able to just have some explosive outcomes on everything. So really cool to be able to see all of that. Now, Noxian Drummer is an interesting one as well, because when I move to a battlefield, play 1 might recruit. So able to go ahead and just populate. Again, that's going to be very helpful in the Trifarian War Camp, and a lot that you're able to then utilize with all of that. She's able to do a really good job, and I like what she is able to add just on helping you go that much wider in this situation. And so really helpful to be able to get that there. And then others is going to be Vanguard Captain. It has Legion, so it has to be your second or later card to be able to play. And when you play me, play 2 1 might recruits here. So wherever here is. Now, one thing that I actually really love as well is going to be Sprite Mother. Now, when you play me, play a ready 3 Sprite unit token with temporary, so it will disappear before you score if on your next upkeep. And so something to keep in mind there with that, but still being able to go ahead and, again, this is a great one to be able to hold a battlefield, but not only that, it's a great one to then be able to, if there's an open one, you pay 4, go ahead and attack in, and you're able to take that battlefield, and that can be even an additional point to help you get there. Now, one of my all-time favorites is Imperial Decree. This is a powerful card. Now, what it specifically says is when any unit takes damage this turn, kill it. Now, the caveat with that, and the thing to remember, is that you cannot just say, I'm going to go ahead with the 3 might unit. You have 3 units out on your side. 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage. You can't do that. That was something I recently learned. But the biggest thing is you have to go ahead and get over the might that the unit still has, and then the carryover damage can go on to the next unit. This is why, if you do have a lot of 1 might units out, you just keep sending them in 1 at a time so that you go ahead and do 1 damage. They do like their 6 damage to you, both die. You send another 1 might unit in. You go ahead and deal one damage to them. They deal 4 damage to you. Both die, and you keep repeating that process. So really helpful to be able to get you there, but you have to be able to have a lot of 1 might units to be able to do so that the rest of your units can then go ahead and take over the battlefield. Riptide Rex is one of my favorite cards as well. Just a really good unit to go ahead and hit hard to be able to deal 6 to an enemy unit at a battlefield. This is also very helpful against, going into Master Yi's or even like Heises or things of that nature as well. It's not spells, it's just ability damage. So you can see a Darius in the opponent's battlefield and just be like, yeah, he dead. Plain and simple, nice and easy. And then after that, he's still able to go ahead and swing in at 6 might. So even after that, if you have big spells that you're able to play, Singularity to deal 6 damage to anywhere on the battlefield or in base, great, awesome. If you go ahead and play Recruit the Vanguard to play 4 recruit tokens, that's pretty dang awesome. And then, of course, Thousand Tail Watcher to make that final push for those big points. Minusing 3 to everything is pretty dang amazing. Now, with that, your side deck, you're going to be going salvage, going against sets or, anything, the, not mastery, or the Dazzling Auroras, which is going to be a great way to take that out and draw a card. Facebreaker to fill that gap. Imperial Decree to face that, or to, again, bridge that gap, getting it a little bit more, and Blast of Power, being able to kill a unit at a battlefield for 6 and 1. Just again, a great ability to be able to utilize here, and it's a pretty solid deck. I've been really impressed to see how it plays, and we're going to be looking at the gameplay here momentarily. Likewise, though, on the flip side is going to be the top 64 of a regional in China that took place, I think about a month and a half, 2 months ago now. It was the third or second one, if I recall correctly. Kind of same thing going for it. We got the Grand Plaza. When you hold here, if you have 7+ units, you win the game. Not necessarily something to bank on. It can be a dead battlefield for you, but more importantly, your opponent is not necessarily going to be able to use it, which is very helpful. Now, otherwise, you got Obelisk of Power and Aspirant's Climb. You got your 1 Lux, your Stupefies, your Retreats, which are going to be very helpful as well. Again, that channeling a rune and being able to get a unit back to hand is very helpful. That little bit of ramp can make a huge difference mid to late game. Not only that, you have the Soaring Scout, then Cull of the Week to take out one of your 1 Might units to then go ahead and take out another opponent's unit. If you're going against Master Yi, which again was very prevalent in China at the time, you Cull of the Week, you're able to take out one of their units, and that can really slow down Master Yi. Same with even going against Kaisa, for that matter, them going ahead. They have a lot of ways to accelerate units quickly, but they don't necessarily, if you deal with those units successfully, it's really hard for them to get back into the game. And so really awesome there. Watchful Sentry to be able to draw a card. Faithful Manufactor and Vanguard Captain. Same with Sprite Mother. Now, Falling Comet, it's okay. It's not the best. You're still able to deal 6 to a unit at a battlefield. It is 5. There is no power cost to it, which is why it's good. So you're still going to be able to draw a card. But still, it's just kind of fallen to the wayside in the meta. So there could be better things to do with it. But with Lux, at least, you're still able to draw a card, which can be very helpful. Now, Echo, this again is one of the cards that I think is being slept on currently, not because of the current meta, but just because of the allocation of cards that we have so far. Echo could be a very powerful card come set 3, set 4. Even maybe in set 2, we're getting some more card reveals here soon. And he could be up there, but he has Accelerate, so you could go ahead for 6 and 2 power to go ahead and just attack him, maybe clear out a battlefield, and then you're immediately able to recycle Echo back into the deck and ready your runes to continue to rebuild your board. If you have 8 and you go ahead and pay 6 to go ahead and play Echo out, you still will have 6 runes after the fact. Now, of course, that's kind of best case scenario, but still, that is something very awesome to be able to utilize. Imperial Decree, Blast of Power in the main deck, and then on top of that, of course, we have 3 Singularities, 3 Recruit of the Vanguards, and 1 Time Warp. Now, the side deck is really interesting as well. Deciding to go with the Seal of Insight and Seal of Unity. That can be a really interesting add-on as well, but, definitely kind of interesting choice for a side deck, in my opinion. Salvage is going to be normal, pretty easy to see. The 3rd Ravenbloom, kind of interesting to include that. 3rd Hidden Blade, 3rd Echo, and then the 3rd Blast of Power. The only thing that I really do have issue with is maybe the 3rd Ravenbloom Student or the 2 Seals. I get why they're there. I just don't necessarily like them. But still, this was actually a really fun deck to be able to see. It was able to perform really well, getting into the top 64 there, and able to, kind of make a statement to say, hey, don't count Lux out. Lux is able to actually still be able to utilize a lot here and can really make an impact in this meta. The biggest thing that's going to be helping you if you do decide to go on the route of building Lux is going to be the fact that not a lot of people are going to know what to expect. They're playing against a lot of Victors, Kaisas, Yis even, a lot of these meta stuff at the local Nexus nights. You show up with Lux and they're like, what are you even trying to do here? Yes, I can read the legend ability. I get what that necessarily means. But with the deck knowledge, it's like, I have no idea what you're necessarily running, which can be a very big advantage for you going to your local Nexus nights or even, at the bigger store tournaments that are going to be coming here pretty soon. So really fun to be able to see how all of that plays out. But without any further ado, I think it is time to look at some gameplay. Now, this is going to be interesting, and we are going to be watching this at times 2 speed. Now, this is Cablad's. He's the one, of course, that got 8, and Badgens that ended up getting 3rd place with the Victor deck. So definitely both decks to be able to keep a look at. And again, I do recommend going to Runes and Rift on YouTube to go ahead and see the gameplay that they are going to be uploading here pretty soon. The deck lists are also on the X account as well for you to be able to look at, and I will link that down in the description below for you guys. And this is really interesting because, again, we don't necessarily know a whole lot to expect here, but this is going to be a big difference maker here on what you can maybe do. Now, Badgens is doing a great job at being able to go ahead and go wide early on. Great start there, already up to 6 runes in this case, and then trying to go ahead and take a battlefield here, and able to do so, surprisingly, with some great cards here. So, I mean, that's going to be a great start right off the bat. And this is going to be the big thing. Game 1 is so powerful for Badgens in this case on being able to go ahead and score so many points so quickly before Lux is even able to get started. And that's going to be the big deciding factor here for this match, was how fast Game 1 ended up going, even with Aspirant's Climb. And so we already see Aporo going in, being able to go up to 2 points, and now Badgens at the upkeep will, of course, be going up to 4. But still, getting a Vanguard Captain out is going to be rather helpful on trying to get things moving to continue this momentum build, because right now, Badgens is looking really good here. And again, this momentum is going to just continue to build. The Sprite Mother, just such a powerful card in this against Lux matchup, and being able to go up 5-2 already. Now, at the same time, Lux still has 3 cards in hand and is going to be going up to 8 runes at this case, which is going to be very helpful in trying to get things moving. But still, again, going to be able to continue to build even more units. And you got to be worried about Grand Stratagem and things of that nature, because as soon as Badgens, even if it goes up to 6, can then go ahead and try to take 7, and then even maybe save Grand Stratagem for the opponent's turn. It is an action card that you can then use during showdowns to add +5, which is pretty devastating. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is with Singularity, there aren't necessarily really great targets for going against Victor here, which makes it a very difficult thing for Lux. You're paying 6, recycling 2, and for what? You know, you're dealing 6 damage to a 3 might and a 1 might. Okay, cool. Or a 2 might here. Not necessarily all that great. But it still is something to be noted that the Lux is 2-0 at this point in round 3 of this matchup. So really cool to be able to see how all of that is unraveling here. And I gotta say that this Victor deck is definitely something to keep an eye on too. And again, like I said, deck list is going to be in the description to Runes and Rift's X account as well. And you can see this big momentum shift trying to fight, but Lux, I feel, is already just a little bit too far behind in this particular matchup. And man, Siphon Power is making such a difference. Now, they are running all 3 in the deck here. And that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And there is going to be the Falling Comet there to deal 5 damage. Now, that's going to be making a big impact, at least still being able to maintain card draw in hand, but still, it's just not looking good for Lux. The speed that Badgens was able to get from here, from the start, just is too much for Lux to be able to handle here, and a well done play here. Now the Victor is going to be coming in, of course, to be able to utilize things, even just getting a unit on board more than anything, and having, you know, 4 cards in hand. It is very possible here that we are going to be looking at a Grand Stratagem, and there isn't necessarily a whole lot that Lux can do. So still being able to get a Singularity to at least get things going is going to be a great start. And not only that, a Lux to be able to take 1 battlefield, and then, of course, the trade with the token, if there are no other answers here, is going to be something to really help out. But even still, we are 5 minutes into this game, and it is just not necessarily looking great for the Lux player here. But man, the main reason that I really wanted to make this video was because of Game 2, and you're going to see exactly how crazy Lux can go, especially against a competitor who ended up even getting 3rd place in this tournament. So really cool to be able to see here. Now, this is still rebuilding the board. I mean, Badgens is doing a great job on being able to just, hey, you can go up to 6. Nothing wrong with that. I'm going to go ahead and still have like my grand stratagem type plays if need be, but still, that is going to be the power of Sprite Mother as well. Being able to go ahead and get, up to 6 might just in a turn instantly. So going to be using Consult of the Past to draw 2 cards at that point, and that is a full hand for Victor. Still 2 runes left to be able to utilize here as they see fit, but nothing is going to necessarily happen with that, and it looks like the Sprite Mother is going to be coming out as the pass here as well to end. Oh, and Consult of the Past was played on the Conqueror. So the showdown still started. That's what happened. Okay, cool. So that's going to still be enough to go ahead and play out the Thousand Tail Watcher, adding -3 to everything. And that, I think, is going to be the shift there on getting things taken care of. Thousand Tail is, of course, going to move in. Lux only has 1 left outside of their ability to get that. And then 1 is going to trade with the Lux. That's going to be a great card draw to be able to utilize. And then even necessarily keeping everything back might be very helpful as well. But now the Sprite will not be scoring. It will disappear before the upkeep for that. And going up to 8, they have to take this. And it looks like a Thousand Tail for a Thousand Tail is going to be a great response. Going up to 7 now, as Badgens needs to find that 9th point. So, I mean, he can still go ahead and utilize this, but it looks like Call of the Week is going to be a great answer to be able to take out the Thousand Tail, and then the Sprite being able to then move in. You're not going to score, but being able to draw a card off of the final or next to final point is going to be very helpful. And again, going wide to be able to say, hey, if you don't have it this next turn, I definitely will. And 4 cards in hand for Lux. So this is going to be a difficult situation here to be able to utilize any kind of board presence. This was still a really close game. Thousand Tail is going to be a great option here. Going to be able to go up to 8 themselves, but still only 1 left. And so it's like, if anything happens, yep, there we go. That is going to be game number 1 with Hidden Blade to take out the Thousand Tail Watcher. So, I mean, again, that was still a really close game, but it ended up being that Victor was just able to go ahead and move so incredibly fast that was able to get those first few points early game faster than Lux was able to go ahead and keep out. Now, this is the thing. Game number 2 is going to be one to definitely watch at and keep an eye on, because if Lux is able to do this more consistently or even just on a regular basis here, this is going to be pretty powerful. And that's why I'm also a little bit curious, because singularities here just are not very effective in Lux's deck when going against Victor. And I really think that was the undoing here. If Lux happened to get another matchup in this Swiss that wasn't necessarily a Victor, would they have then done a little bit better in this case as well? I feel like Victor and even Darius, for that matter, are going to be great matchups into Lux here, and that's why this round 3 is going to be so difficult. But we'll see a difference here on what happens when Lux ends up going first, and we already see the Ravenbloom student as well as 2 units out for the Victor. And I mean, going wide already, 3 there as well, and going to be able to ready 2 runes on top of that for the passing of the turn. Now, there isn't necessarily a whole lot there in this case, and something to keep in mind. You do have like the skull, but that is a 2 cost. So you could go ahead and play the Skull Smasher, and that would also add 1 might to the luck. So that could be very helpful on trying to get things. But the Trifarian War Camp is going to be a really interesting battlefield to be able to maintain a hold on as well, and something that very well could be benefiting the Victor. Now, at this point, this is a great one to try to take by Cablaz, just because both are 1 might going up to 2. So you could go ahead and even, try to run the Poro in that case, going up to 4 to be able to trade, and Stupefying so that it lives. A great play from the Lux, also being able to even, utilized, but still a siphon of power, which has gone ahead and, man, just made such a difference in this matchup as well against Lux. You think that you're going to be getting the point, but you're actually not. You're losing back a little bit, but still was able to play through that incredibly well. But man, I'm kind of curious about Siphon of Power, because I really do feel like one of Victor's hardest issues here is maintaining holds on battlefields. You're not playing a lot of really big units, so a lot of these holds are going to be a little bit more difficult on trying to get things going. And here also, it never feels good playing a Consult of the Past to try to go ahead and get something going. It almost feels like you're playing it a little bit too slow. But I mean, if you don't have any units or anything to play, you almost have to, and that's going to be the hardest part here. And I mean, right now Lux is taking full advantage of that. And it's going to be crazy to see, because now you're seeing that Lux is able to get up to 8 runes, soon to be 10 on the next turn as well, and is able to continue to build up everything. Now, you're seeing a lot more units being able to come in. This board presence is going to get just even crazier as we continue to move on. And it's going to be just a bombshell after bombshell at this point. And we're seeing now a flip side of this, where Lux is now at 5 versus Victor being at 2. And still, Imperial Decree doesn't necessarily feel great, but you are able to at least take out, the big threats that are on board. But yeah, looks like in this case, Recruit the Vanguard is going to be coming in to reinforce that battlefield. And I mean, that is going to be difficult. 4 units going up to 8 at that point. That very well could have been the deciding factor of this match. And guys, wow, that is crazy to be able to see as Lux goes up to 7 and has just maintained a hold on this battlefield. Victor seems like has missed a couple of the draws that they may be wanting here, but still, Lux has been able to just go ahead and show, this is how you go ahead and play. 4 cards in hand, and still able to continue to build out presences here. Going in with a Sprite, not necessarily to say, hey, I'm going to be, holding this or gaining a point off of this, but more importantly saying, if you do decide to go for double the points here, you are going to have to pay the price. Whether that is with card responses, reactions, or actions in that case, or just paying with units. And both are going to be things to really slow down the Victor at this point. And Cablaz is doing just a great job at being able to stop all of that. And so 6 runes still at the ready for Lux as well. So if a showdown does even start, this is going to be something to go ahead and say, let's see what happens. And so the Sprite is not going to be able to score the 8th point on the hold, but still building up a wall there, and going to be having 3 units left, but just trying to reinforce with anything to be able to get things going. You do have to worry about the Siphon of Power. That has been making a pretty big impact, and with 5 runes up, man, you almost wish, like, if you had the Grand Stratagem, you of course wouldn't be making that Victor token, because then you could go ahead and play the Grand Stratagem. But there's the Imperial Decree right there. Now, of course, you do have to do this one at a time. And so, yeah, looks like it is going to be the token moving in first. And they are going to be playing Consult of the Past here, trying to get some more options as things continue to play out. And there is the Siphon Power. Now, of course, that's not going to necessarily make a difference with Imperial Decree, so I'm a little surprised that they did decide to play that there. But even still, yeah, everything is able to go in, and then you are able to go up to the 8th point and get the win there. Guys, that's the power of Lux. And it seems like, yeah, you definitely are going to be playing into your matchups a little bit more carefully, and hoping to get some good draws going, and that's going to be sometimes difficult. You want to go ahead and make sure that you're able to maintain a board presence. That was the biggest thing that Lux ended up struggling with in the beginning, where they were going too in-game heavy or too spell heavy into Lux's ability, that you were able to go ahead and take out a lot of units, but you weren't able to then refill the battlefields with those units. And so you're like, cool, well, the board's clear, but I'm not scoring. And you ended up just falling further and further behind at that point, which made it so difficult to try to keep up. But man, I am impressed with Lux. I mean, definitely underrepresented, but also kind of fairly so. It is one of those outliers that aren't necessarily going to be sending waves through this meta. This is a tier 1 deck. No, not by any means, but it is one that can catch your opponents off guard and really take a good game to them. So definitely keep that in mind as you continue to try to build up your decks and decide what you are going to be taking to your Nexus Knights, because Lux could be one to really surprise your locals. So with that being said, guys, that is gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for being here. What decks are you most interested in? We're gonna be taking a look at Ari again to see what she was able to do at a recent tournament, getting first even over Kaisa. Really interesting to see there, so some fun stuff to see. And guys, Vegas is coming up this week, and so be sure to tune in with Turn Them Sideways as they cast the entire tournament. It's going to be an absolute blast. I'm still debating, do I go ahead and play Darius or do I play Darius or Kaisa in this case? I'm leaning a little bit more towards Darius, so we'll see how that all unravels as well. But until next time, guys, have a good one.